record on this computer? Okay.
Okay, and I just say, got it. All right.
Well, hello, everyone. Glad you're here. I'm so excited to welcome Mike Mann, who I know Mike because we run together most Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. We're part of a run group that's sponsored through the YWCA. And I met Mike a few years ago. And let me tell you, Mike runs a lot faster than me, and he's very inspirational. And he always cheers on everyone else who's there, which is just really a cool feature of what we do to support each other. And I was thinking of things, how do we stay inspired as older athletes? And, I'm 57 and I want to keep running. I want to run for as long as I possibly can. And the best way for me to stay motivated is to look to older people who just keep excelling. And Mike, you are one of those people. So will you tell our listeners a little bit about your story? Like, how old are you? I mean, it's kind of abrupt. I mean, that's why I announced how old I was. But I think that's really inspirational because I have older readers. So how old are you? Are you retired? If you are retired, what did you do before you retired? And just give us a little bit of an overview of who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm 72. I'll be 73 in June. And I am retired, except for one gig that I've held on to. And I'll get into that a little more. I worked for 24 years as a baker for Willette Bakery here in the Twin Cities. Started as a baker's apprentice, worked my way up to head baker, bakery manager. Then I was human resource manager. And then after 24 years, I did a huge career pivot and became a professional storyteller instead.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
So, and that was inspired in part by our kids. My wife and I were becoming increasingly concerned about how modern media was having such an influence on our children. And so we decided to try an experiment, and we put the TV away. Back then, TV was the primary media source. Nowadays, there are so many others. So it was a little easier to cut that cord than it is today. But we tried to go cold turkey without television, and that led to reading stories to our kids, and eventually into telling stories to the kids. And then I was volunteering in the kids' school as a storyteller. And one day I met a professional storyteller who took me aside and said, you could get paid to do that. And boy, that sounded like a really good idea. At that time, I was human resource manager for the bakery, and I was not having fun. It was the stress level went up. As much as I enjoyed working with people, the human resource concept and regulation, and it was just a lot of worry and work. And Vicky, my wife, was so supportive. She said, I think you need to make this change. And I know that means I'm going back to work, because she was a stay-at-home mom at that point. And so we had the TV off for 3 years. I learned lots of stories, and then I started telling them professionally, and was a professional storyteller for 24 years.
Wow.
And then the COVID just kind of ended that career. It was getting to be time. I mean, I was in my early 70s, and I was thinking about retirement. And COVID, I just took it as a sign to say, okay, I can be done. And in fact, my wife, whose background is accounting, she, of course, runs our checkbook and our finances. And she said, we can afford to do this. And so I retired, except for one gig that I continue to do, and that is I am Santa Claus for Bachman's here in the Twin Cities. And I started as Santa Claus 24 years ago as well. I was asked to do Santa Claus for 50th in France, their business association, and I turned the job down. I said, no, I'm uncomfortable with the image of Santa Claus. He's the poster boy for consumerism, and
Right.
that just doesn't work for me. So then a friend of mine said, well, have you seen the Santa Claus at Bachman's? And I said, no. He says, you got to go see that. So I went and watched the Santa at Bachman's, and that guy, his name was Dick Holmberg,
Yeah.
and he was a local theater actor who was
Oh,
portraying
yeah.
Santa Claus, and he was changing the story. It was
Oh,
not the
I love it.
traditional story that we know. And I thought, oh, change the story. Of course, I can do
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
so then I went back to 50th in France and told him, all right, Santa will tell stories, and the stories will be about Christmas being the season of giving
Oh,
and
I
not the
love it.
season of receiving. And so I told those
Nice.
stories to children and families,
Uh-huh.
and that went well for a few years. And then I was hired away from there
Uh-huh.
to be the Santa at Nordstrom at the Mall of America,
Right.
which
Right.
paid better.
Yeah.
And so I was there for a few years. That was a wonderful place to work. But then one day I heard that Dick Holmberg was retiring, and
Oh,
somebody told me, that'd be a great gig to have, and they
yeah.
were right. So I beat a path over there and applied for the job right away, and they did a national search, and I got the job, and I've been there for 14 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, and I remember hearing, so how does your running career interface with your jobs, the various jobs you've had?
Well, running is something that whatever I was doing, whatever I was trying to do, I would get pretty focused
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
immerse myself
Mhm.
in what I needed to know, what I needed to learn, and because this was my area of interest. So running is a similar area where I have become a student
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
endurance,
Mhm.
and uh, and I try and pick up as much as I can from all these other people who are inspiring. There's a whole bunch of them that I sometimes get to run with, and run and compete with, and they're pretty inspirational.
Yeah.
And so so that uh, that's just kind of how I do things. My wife is
Yeah.
not surprised at all that I kind of, if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it halfway. And
Yeah.
I was a full-time storyteller for many years, booked,
Right.
and in the peak, I was booked 300 times a year.
Wow.
So it was really
Yeah.
full-time work, and
Yeah.
great work. I really loved it, very rewarding, love working with kids.
Mhm.
And I love working with people. And
Yeah.
storytelling thing was great fun. Running is a similar task. If you let it, it can
Right.
become work,
Yep.
just like
Sure.
anything else. But there's so much to look for in terms of what's inspirational and what is rewarding. And if
Right.
you get super focused on results as opposed to
Mhm.
process,
Mhm.
then you will from time to time get disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you buy into the whole concept of process, um, you can have a lot of fun, a lot of fun
Right.
with it. And
So,
success might come along too.
yeah. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about your body and how it has changed as a result of your learning and dedication related to running.
Well, when I started running, actually 14 years ago, I had a cancer diagnosis. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
prostate cancer. And
Mhm.
that was kind of a wake up call. At
Yeah.
that time, I weighed 175 pounds. I was on blood pressure medication. I was taking statins for high cholesterol, and
Yeah.
I had to deal with this cancer.
Yeah.
At that
Yeah.
time, my youngest son, Tim, was running triathlons. And
Okay.
so when I got through the process of dealing with the cancer and I was on the backside of that, I was watching him go out for runs and I thought, I used to do that. I,
Oh, yeah.
I was a runner in high school and then left that. And then before children came along, I went back to running in the 80s during that first big running boom, and then gave that up to spend time as a father. And so I thought I used to do that. If my life is limited and I only have so much time left, I better start doing the things that I really love to do. And
Yeah.
running is one of those. So I started running again. Now I weigh 145. I don't take blood pressure medications. I'm not on statins. I've got some medical issues that are very typical for somebody my age. I deal with I've got diverticulosis, which
Oh, yeah.
occasionally flares up to diverticulitis, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's that. I've got
Yeah.
benign positional vertigo, which
Oh, yeah.
if I get dehydrated, will cause some challenges. And then
Yeah.
lifelong, I've been an allergy and asthma sufferer. So,
Oh, right.
I learned to deal with that. But all those things are part of who I am, but
Right.
I can
Right.
still be a runner.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and the fact is, if I don't run, then I'm just me with all those other things. And I'd rather be a runner with all those other things.
I love that is definitely one of the things I talk about a lot as well. Yeah, yeah. That is really, really fascinating. So can you describe in any more detail like why you run? Like what is it that you get out of running? I mean, because
Well,
and related to that, describe for us what kind of events you generally sign up for. You mentioned that you like endurance running, and how do you define that? Yeah, go ahead.
well, anything from the mile to the marathon.
Yeah.
And I don't do ultras.
Okay.
And even though my friend Fast Eddie
Oh
Rousseau
yeah, yeah.
has tried to encourage me to give ultras a try, I'm not an ultra marathoner.
Yep.
But I will like 2021. My goal for 2021 is to run about a dozen events in the Run Minnesota Grand Prix,
Oh,
and so that will start in a couple of weeks with the
okay.
Fools 5 uh, 8K race down in Lewiston, Minnesota.
Okay.
And I'll start with that one. And then I'll do a little 5K park run. And then I'll do uh, kind of an A race will be the Getting Gear 10K.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay.
And then there's a whole series of races through the summer from 1 mile to half marathon. The half marathon that'll be another A race will be the City of Lakes
Oh
half
yeah, yeah.
marathon in
Yep.
the fall. One of my favorite races goes around the lakes, these beautiful lakes here in Minneapolis, and it's always such a beautiful day
Oh
for
yeah.
the race. And it's such a neat event because you're doing this giant sort of figure eight twice around. So it's a great
Oh,
event for people to watch as well.
oh, yeah, yeah. So that's what you're doing here in 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. And did do you have any marathons in your plan for this year?
No, I did.
Okay. Yep.
Interestingly, I did the Twin Cities Marathon in 1983 for the first time. That was the
Love
second
it.
one,
Okay.
and then I said, okay, that's enough. And
Yep.
even when I got back into running 12 years ago, I decided I'm many kinds of runner, but I'm not a marathoner.
Yeah, yeah.
Then in 2019, I was having a really good year. I did the Bjorkland half marathon in the spring, and
Yep.
I did a PR there,
Wow.
and I thought, man, I'm having a really good year. And somebody mentioned to me that I was in the lead for runner of the year in my age group, the runner of the year competition that's scored by USATF.
Okay.
And I looked at my competition and realized that I need to run a marathon to succeed in possibly win this by the end of the year. So I started training for the Twin Cities Marathon.
Okay.
And so in 2019, I had the fastest 1 mile, the fastest 5K, the fastest 5 mile, and the fastest marathon for my age group.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's
And I
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, so I won my runner of the year competition that
Wow.
year, which to me was just way beyond anything I could have imagined. I had
Love
always
it.
been, I've always been have a little bit of a competitive streak,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
and so I always wanted to challenge those guys who were winning it, but I never thought I would actually end up at the end of the year to be at the top. There's since now, I'm still in that same age group, and there's since been a couple of speedsters who've turned 70 who are able to run faster than I am.
Wow.
But my goal is still to at least make them work for it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, and there was one day where it was the Twin City 10 mile, and I
Yes.
happened to chat with your wife,
Mhm.
Vicky, and she mentioned that you really focus on your training. And
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about that. Like, what does that mean? Like, how many days a week do you run? Do you
Uh-huh.
do anything, some runners to avoid injury do strength training? Do you do any strength training? What kind of cross training do you do? So give us a little
Uh-huh.
overview of that.
Yeah. Well, when I started to immerse myself and geek out on this running thing, I am probably a little ADD because I would read about certain things that you ought to do, and so then I'd say, well, maybe I should do that. Oh, but then there's this. Maybe I should do that. Oh, but wait, there's this. Maybe I should do that. And Vicky saw me going through this, and she said, you need a coach.
Yes.
And so um, we were running. I was running with the interval group at the YWCA, and Lori Goodrow was coaching that group. And I asked Lori if she would take me on as a client. And now Lori does the training plan. I
Yes.
don't I don't worry about it at all. I just look at the plan and I complete the plan, so I don't have to obsess about it. I swim a minimum of once a week.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
weight training twice a week at this time of year. And when I get into summer, I will cut that back to once a week when I'm doing
Okay.
more racing. But right
Yep.
now it's twice a week.
Okay.
And bike anytime I want to and any chance I get.
Yep.
And if I want to, I run 5 days a week right now.
Okay. All right. 5.
And my
Okay.
goal this year is to train and run about 1,500 miles. So
Wow. Okay.
it's between 28 and 35 miles a week.
Okay. Okay. I love it. I love it. Wow.
And
Um, oh yeah, go ahead.
last year I spent a little more time in the pool.
Okay.
Um, and because every time I compete, like with at the senior games, or I run into any of the runners in my age group, I try and pick their brains. What are you doing? What are you working on? What works for you? And I hear a lot about how they spend time running in the pool.
Yep. Yep.
So so I've got
Yep. The
a belt,
waistband.
yeah,
Yep.
for pool running. And if I feel any aches and pains that tell me I should not run outside,
Yeah.
then I go to the pool and I run in the pool, put my
Yeah.
miles in there. It takes a lot of stress off the joints.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Also, there's a lot of discussion about super shoes,
Right.
and uh,
Right.
and that's really great that they've got these carbon plated shoes for those really, really fast people. It's wonderful that they've done that. But for those of us of a certain age, as you get older, these carbon plated shoes make those runs easier to deal with. And they're easier on the joints and easier on the knees. And that's what I found. So I have invested in carbon plated shoes. Um,
Wow.
in fact, another thing that I learned from a bout in 2017 with plantar fasciitis
Yeah, yeah.
is that I have more than one pair of shoes.
Yep,
I right
yep.
now have 5 pairs of shoes, and I
Oh,
rotate them, and
wow.
that helps again to help strengthen my ankles and my plantar. And another thing that I do that I picked up from Lori is before I get out of bed,
Yep.
toe yoga. Toe
Really?
yoga. Yep, every morning
Wow.
before I get out of bed. Strengthens the plantar and the arch,
Right, right.
and that really helps. Some
Wow.
other let's see now. I made myself some notes.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, the toe yoga, the swimming and the strength training. Um, Before every run, dynamic
Yes,
warm up.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Not stretching. Stretching
Nope,
comes
nope.
after the run. Dynamic warm up. You want to be just super religious about that because it helps you get ready to run. Um, then I really believe in a rest day, one day a
Yeah.
week,
Yep.
total rest.
Yep.
Sometimes if it feels like the miles are starting to pile up, I might do 2 days of rest.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's one beautiful thing about working with Lori as a coach
Yeah.
is that she allows me to manage it. She puts it out there, and it's up to me to determine how I'm going to fulfill the schedule. Um, then there's one other little key thing that helps. About 3 days a week, I do a mobility workout
Ooh,
that is created by Miranda Esmond White.
okay.
She wrote the book Aging Backwards.
Oh,
And if you're into PBS, you'll
yeah.
see Miranda on PBS
Okay.
doing her mobility workouts. And so
Okay.
Vicki and I have a couple of her CDs,
Yep.
DVDs,
Yep.
and we will before I start my workout day, after I've gotten out of bed and had my morning coffee, I'll do a workout with Miranda to get me going for the day. It's 20
Wow.
minutes just
Wow.
to do the flexibility and movement because as
Okay.
you age, sitting
Yeah. The
is the new
worst.
smoking. Yeah.
Yep, it's totally true. Oh, these are great bits of advice. I love it. Thank you. And so this is actually kind of a related thing. How, especially as you get into race season, how do you manage your nutrition?
Well, we rarely eat out.
Yeah, me too. Me, same thing. I
And
never eat out either.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and Vicky says she's not a great cook, but that's a lie. She is a great cook, and we are very conscious of what we eat. As you age, you need to make sure that you're getting a proper amount of protein.
Yeah.
And then I supplement with berberine and
Oh,
with vitamin D.
yep. Yep.
And another thing that's a little bit of an aging experiment, but it's something called NMN.
Oh,
And you want to look up David Sinclair of Harvard Medical School about he's a big aging expert, and if you follow him, you can do TED Talks
yeah.
or find him on
Okay.
YouTube, David
Okay.
Sinclair, and
Okay.
he will talk about the anti-aging benefits of NMN.
Ooh, I'm going to check that out. I'll put it in the show notes for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
the other thing that I'm really working on,
Yeah.
my goal is patience. And Lori has been preaching to me to run the fast days fast and the slow days slow. And I'm
Mhm.
really, that's my goal this year. Slow
Okay.
down on the slow days. And it's a bit of
Yeah.
a challenge because I've got this attitude that, every run is a race, and it's not.
Right. Right.
And so when I'm there on Thursday mornings to run fast, then go for it, run fast. But on the long days and on the easy days, then take it easy. And
Right. Oh yeah.
so that's a serious goal of mine. Also, I've created something of a coaching library or running library. So I've got a lot of running books
Mhm.
that I have or that I check out from the library. Currently, I'm reading one that's a lot of fun. It's called Thinking Body, Dancing Mind.
Ooh,
It's sort of the Tao of athletics,
I love
but
it.
um, it is by Jerry Lynch.
Okay.
And what I'm into in one chapter that I'm on right now is called Using the Beginner's Mind.
Yes.
That as
Yes.
we get
Yes.
older, we have all these experiences and all these stories that say, well, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, no, that'll never happen. And you build all of this expert mind, but the expert mind is limiting. The
Yeah.
beginner's mind is full of opportunity. And so if you approach running with the beginner's mind, then anything's possible.
Yes. Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. This is beautiful. I'm totally inspired even more. I now feel like I know you even a little bit better, despite seeing you every Thursday morning or many Thursday mornings. And it gives me hope. I mean, one of my goals is to one day get a little faster. And I love how you keep learning about the sport and how you keep asking your fellow athletes what they're doing, because
Mhm.
those are super valuable ways to get affirmation and get new information. Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm learning about athletics and endurance
Yeah.
is to paraphrase Yogi Berra, because everybody
Yep.
likes to, is that endurance is 90% mental
Yep.
and the other half is physical.
Yep.
And
Totally true.
you can talk yourself into and you can talk yourself out of just about anything.
I love it. I love it. This is so true. Well, Mike, do you have any last kind of words of wisdom? You've given us a lot of words of wisdom, I must say. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Uh, well, being a storyteller, the thing that I would want to leave you with is that what really matters is the story you tell yourself, because you are the
Yes.
hero of your own journey.
Mhm.
And life is a dance.
Yeah.
And the object of dancing is not to get from one end of the floor to the other. So enjoy the trip.
Oh, yes. Woohoo. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and thank you, Mari.